Simply Zoological here. I do have a couple points to go over with y'all before we get into the actual build, but first I wanted to say thank you so much for being here with me, and I hope y'all are having a wonderful day. So first, I wanted to tell y'all that we do have this video split up into 3 different videos because it was about 15 hours of I have only probably 7 or 8 hours of footage recorded, but it was about 15 hours of total work that went into this build. So there are several with that being said, there are several bits and pieces that are not in, that you will not be able to see because I didn't record it. It's not that I didn't want to record it, it's just I got to building and I got to trying things and I was like, well, I like it, I don't want to redo it, so I forgot to hit the record and I just went with it. And with that being said, let me know how you feel about the voiceover. If you would like me to do some things differently with it, if you would like for me to not do voiceovers, it's totally up to y'all. I build zoos for my fun and my creativity, but I post them on YouTube for y'all. So I want y'all to let me know how you feel about the voiceover, if you want me to continue it, if you want me to go back to just the music aspect of it, just let me know. Let me know in the comments below about that, please, if you wouldn't mind. So about this zoo, we are starting a brand new zoo. As you can see, I do want to point out that there will be no guests ever in this zoo, not on my side anyways. It will be posted on the Steam Workshop, but I do not have spawn points hooked up to any pathing. I have a spawn point because you can't delete both spawn points in Planet Zoo. So the spawn point is just off to the side. Y'all won't ever see it. But this zoo, it will work for guests if y'all do decide to download it off of the Steam Workshop and you do have guests walk through it. Most of it will work for guests, and I will try to keep that in mind, but I won't build for the guests to actually walk through every bit of the zoo. So there may be some things that y'all will have to tweak about the zoo if y'all download it and want your guests to walk through it, or if you just want it to be pretty. But I did want to go ahead and mention, so the name of this zoo is called Terra Verde, meaning green earth. And with that being said, it is an ecological zoo. It's a modern styled ecological zoo. And I took inspiration for it from the lady designer's ecological park, or Eco Island Park that she has right now. I love her concept of it. And I wanted to take her concept and her idea behind it and kind of see what I could do with that same kind of concept. Again, I'm trying to start pushing myself more with these builds and with more creativity, because I'm not the person who I can look at a piece and say, oh, this can be used for this. If this is what it looks like, that's what I use it for 9 times out of 10. The only time I've been getting better about that, but really the only time I can do that is if I see somebody else use it in that same way. So with that being said, this zoo, it will be for lots of education. We will have half of this park will be solely educationally based, so breeding programs, conservation efforts, that kind of thing, and then the other half will be the actual animal park side of it. And for the animals, we will have the only animals that we will have in this zoo will be like our critically endangered animals, our endangered, the vulnerable, those kinds of animals, because we do want to dive heavily into the breeding programs and the conservation efforts to save the animals that are in need right now. in the wild, and we are going to try our best to repopulate those animals with the breeding programs that the guests will be able to see. So as for the this build right here, I did take the inspiration for this zoo, or for this entrance, off of the Woodland Park Zoo, I believe is what it's called. Yeah, the Woodland Park Zoo is the zoo that I took the inspiration for this build off of. And this build, it does have to do with a lot of the conservation pack, lots and lots of the conservation planks and panels, and the 3D walls that the conservation pack has. Again, I've never used the 3D wall pieces, but I wanted to try and start using in this build, with it being modern. With the zoo, I am trying to use pieces that I haven't really used before to see what kind of ways I can use it and that kind of thing. Because again, as I am trying to grow in Planet Zoo, I'm also trying to grow in my building skills. And the only way to do that is to start using new pieces that I wouldn't think of using in certain ways. And with me building in this modern style, I feel like it's really going to help me push through that and to find and come up with new ways to use different pieces. So with that being said, you can see I am starting with the guest entrance right here. We do have the ticket booths off to the right of this. I'm very bad with my left and right, sorry about that. But so we do have the ticket booths, and I did sink those booths into the ground just a little bit. They are the same size as a regular ticket booth in Planet Zoo, so you would be able to use it for guests, but if you do use it for guests, you will have to raise it up a little bit to meet the same height. Because again, I'm not building for the guests, I'm just keeping the guests in mind as I'm building. But I'm not building to make it useful for guests, because we're not gonna have guests in this zoo, like, ever. And I didn't want the pressure of having to work around, oh, well, the guests need this and the guests need that. I didn't want that pressure for this zoo. I wanted to do something that I would enjoy, and I wanted to build for myself, which I haven't really done yet until now. And so with that being said, I really, really enjoyed this build. This is probably one of my most favorite builds that I've ever done in Planet Zoo, just because I don't have the stress of having to make sure the guests are happy and all this kind of stuff. We will have the stress of making sure the animals are happy, because in this zoo I do have the animal needs turned on. I don't have their terrain need on, but I do have their and like their plant need obviously is turned off, but their happiness, their social groups, we have that turned on. Because again, we want to keep it as realistic as possible to where the animals will be as happy as they can be. A couple things are turned off, but not all of them. So as you saw a couple minutes ago, I was working with that turnstile, and that turnstile I got off the workshop. I was just too lazy to make one myself. Again, I had already put probably 10 hours into this build at the time, and I was like, I don't want to make a turnstile myself, so I'll just get one off the workshop. That turnstile, I believe, was by the Masked Bandit, and I will link that along with any other items that I use for any of these builds in the description to this video down below. And so here you can see I'm kind of struggling just a little bit. So I wanted to do a pathing style that was unique, modern, and interesting to look at. Because I didn't want to just like copy somebody else's path. I wanted to do something that I had never really seen before, but I wanted it to be my style and like with my creativity in mind. Because again, I'm trying to be more creative with this zoo, and I'm trying to use pieces in a different way that I wouldn't have thought of before. So we're going to make this honeycomb hexagon type pattern with those hexagons, and it turns out absolutely amazing. I am so proud of myself for the way this turned out and the way the patterning turns out. We do end up changing the color, so don't worry about that. But it turns out so much better than I ever thought. And once I get the restaurant built in, it looks absolutely amazing. And as you can see off to the right here, you see our fountain. And our, I guess you could say, mascot for this zoo is going to be the dodo bird, because again, we're ecological, we're keeping the more extinct animals in mind, that kind of thing. So I was like, well, we'll just use the dodo bird. And I mean, he's pretty to look at, everybody loves him. So we will keep that in mind, and we're going to place him throughout the zoo. So if y'all have any names to name the dodo bird, just let me know, and we will we'll give our mascot a name. So here this pathing took me absolutely forever. It probably took me a good hour and a half to get this pathing all done how I actually wanted it. Because before this is the final product that came out. But before this, I had worked already for about 30 minutes trying to get the path, and I only got halfway done because, again, I had this idea in mind. And so this is the final product that came out, but I did try it before this little bit right here, and there were so many pieces, and my little laptop just did not like it at all, because I do only have a laptop that I build on. I do not have an actual PC set up yet. I'm working on getting it, but it's gonna take me a little while to get there. So we are still so we have to be very mindful of our piece count in builds, and I can't go too crazy, and so I had to scratch it a couple of times and try and figure out new ways to use pieces and stuff like that. So with this being said, as we are starting this new build, we are going to be taking a break from Atali Zoo, and I believe Bushland Sanctuary. We're taking a break from them because, as I do only have 2 more animals to put into Bushland, I'm not bored of the zoos. I'm out of inspiration for those zoos. And any creator knows that you can't force inspiration to happen. And that's what I've done that in the past with Meridian Zoo. I forced inspiration and it did not work. And so we're not gonna do that this time, because again, as I'm trying to grow as a content creator and as a builder, I don't want to force something if it's not happening. So we'll get back to them whenever I find a build that I want to build in those zoos. Because again, right now, when I think of Atali Zoo, I'm just like, I don't know what to do. I have an animal that I want to build for in it. I don't have the inspiration to build for it. I'm not in the mood to build for it. I get to the thought of, I have to make an episode of Atali Zoo, and I procrastinate it so bad. So I was like, well, let me just do something that I actually want to do. And I've had this thought of doing an ecological zoo since the conservation pack came out. It's just I didn't know how I wanted to go about it until I started really watching the Lady Designer's Ecological Island Park zoo that she's doing right now. Once I got to watching that zoo that she's doing right now, I was like, I have so many ideas now. And again, we're not copying any of her builds. We're not gonna, we will do lots of circles and domes and that kind of thing, but we're not gonna copy any of her builds word for word, basically, as you could say, I guess. We're just gonna take lots of inspiration from it and use lots of inspiration from that park and a couple other builds that I've found and stuff, and just kind of figure it out as we go. So for this zoo, it is on a height map, as I'm sure y'all can already tell. Because I'm not one who loves to build with terrain. I'm not a big fan of it. I never really have been. I don't know that I ever really will be too big of a fan of using height and stuff, and I really wanted to push myself with this zoo. And so I was like, well, what if I'll try and I'll just use a height map. That way I don't have to create any terrain and we'll just work around it. So that's kind of the concept that we're going for right now. And we'll see. I may keep that concept, I may not. Just depends on how, because again, pathing with this can be awful. So we'll just have to see how the pathing works and everything. But right now, as you can see, we have finished the honeycomb pattern, and I was looking at it. Once I got done with it, I was like, it's too plain. It's very pretty and I love it, but it's too plain. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, well, this is an ecological zoo. There's not much green and not much ecologicalness about it, I guess you could say. Lack of a better word. There's not much. I covered up a lot of green with it, is what I was thinking. I'm like, well, that's not very ecological of me to do that. And so I was like, well, how can I go about not doing that without deleting the path? And so I thought of, well, why don't I just make little green bits and put into a couple of the hexagon squares, or the hexagons. And so I worked on it, and I used the little mossy rocks that I have never used before, again using pieces as I haven't before, and I loved it, and I'm like, well, we'll just keep on keeping on. And so we have that, and we're right now we're just placing that over and over, and really that's about it. And so as this comes to an end, I do want to go ahead and let y'all know, again, this will be in a 3-part video, so not all of it will be right now. You won't see it all right now, but it'll come out in the next couple weeks and stuff. And I just wanted to say, y'all have a wonderful day. If you enjoy this video, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe, and stay up to date with all of our other zoos that we have going on as when we decide to get back into them. But that's all that I have to tell y'all, and I hope y'all have a great day. Bye.